Let's start with tomorrow's big elections with Newsweek's Howard Fineman and the Washington Post's Eugene Robinson, both MSNBC political analysts. Gentlemen, let me ask you about this situation tomorrow. Siena, the polling operation up in New York. Just Sunday after Scozzafava's withdrawal, Hoffman, the conservative, led that poll 41-36. Howard, you're shaking your head. Is the Republican Party in a purge, something like in the 30s in Russia, where they're knocking off people? No, when they're knocking off people that are not politically correct. Obviously, they're not communists, but this kind of roughhouse decision to bop off people. They got rid of Specter was pushed out of the party. Link Chafee's gone. There's no Republicans left in the New England delegation in Congress at all. What's going on?
Yeah, well, as long as we're making wild comparisons, this is sort of the crack cocaine version of reduced republicanism here. They only have 20% standing nationwide, maybe 22% of the American people identify themselves as Republicans. But those who remain, and those who are at the core, and those who, frankly, pushed out Dede Scozzafava and backed Doug Hoffman, who now looks like he might well win that race, believe that the hardcore skepticism of government message, the anti-tax, anti-big government message is the winning message for Republicans in the Obama era, and they're going to pursue it whether it's in New York or Virginia or New Jersey, and they may actually get some validation for that tomorrow.
Okay, let me let Eugene savor this. Here is what Rush Limbaugh said about the Republican candidate who was forced to drop out over the weekend. Let's listen.
Scozzafava has screwed every rhino in the country. We can say that she's guilty of widespread bestiality. She has screwed every rhino in the country. Everyone can see just how phony and dangerous they are. 2010 might be a nightmare for PETA. Two animals may become extinct, rhinos and blue dog Democrats. Pelosi's going to kill off the blue dogs, and the conservatives are going to finally get rid of rhinos. The American people have had enough.
Gene, what do you make of that? Rhinos as a name conservatives use for Republicans, a name only, meaning people that aren't as conservative as they are. Is this purge for real? By the way, bestiality is an interesting reference point. She, quote, has screwed every rhino in the country. That is a metaphor from hell, but go ahead.
Very bizarre, and we don't want to psychoanalyze that because that would take us an hour. But this idea of that Republicans who don't believe everything that Rush Limbaugh believes are Republicans in name only is symptomatic of this. You call it a purge, call it a civil war, whatever it is that has to take place in the Republican Party. And I think it's good. It's going to have to play itself out. I mean, look, you've got a situation where Newt Gingrich, whose whole career has been as a flamethrower and kind of bomb thrower who says inappropriate things and shakes things up. He's the voice of reason and stability in the Republican Party right now. That tells you that they're in for a long few years.
Chris, can I disagree here for a second? I don't think there is I don't think there is a civil war in what now is the Republican Party. The right has won. The right is in control. They're in control of the thing. They brushed aside Scozzafava. They got Doug Hoffman in there. They had blessed him retroactively. Even Newt's with him now. A lot of the grassroots people dismiss Newt because he's been in Washington too long and he, is messing around with health care reform and so forth. I mean, they are in charge. These people are in charge. They got their guy in Virginia. They finally ended up getting their person in New York State. They may have a version of him in New Jersey who's got a chance to win tomorrow. I'm going to predict, are going to feel pretty empowered in their version of events by tomorrow night. And to me, there's no war within the party. It's a question of whether independents who have fled the Republican Party, who fled the Democratic Party, and are lying out there, they're sitting out there, whether this brand of republicanism can draw them back in 2010 and 2012.
Who's their next target in this anti-gay campaign, anti-gay rights, anti-choice campaign? Is it Charlie Crist of Florida? Gene, are they going to knock him out in the next fight? Is that the goal?
I think absolutely they're going to go after him, and they can get some traction in Florida. As you know, there are a lot of conservatives in Florida, and Charlie Crist had that infamous hug with President Obama that's going to be used against him in the next election. It's going to be ugly down there, probably.
Well, let's go to a state that's more middle of the road. Let's go to New Jersey. Quinnipiac's latest poll has Christie, the Republican, up 42-40, with Daggett, the third party, sort of a Republican himself, at 12. My weird guess, it's been consistent for several days now, is that Christie's going to pull an upset. Howard.
Yeah, I think that's quite possible, and I'm just fascinated to see what Sarah Palin does. I know that sounds maybe a little silly, but she has been ahead of the curve, first in criticizing Skozafava. Now, on her Facebook page, she's attacking Chris Daggett, the third-party candidate, the tax reform candidate, because I think the people now in charge of the Republican Party, that core conservative Republican Party, are worried that Daggett will draw too many votes away from Christie. That's what's going right now. It's trench warfare via Facebook. And Sarah Palin, who's ever advising her, it's not just her sitting there at her kitchen table up in Alaska. She's got people here in Washington, around the country, who are using her, and she's leading, and people like Tim Plenty from Minnesota and these others who want to establish their conservative credentials come in behind whatever she does.
By the way, her quote is, quote, "I've never even suggested he should drop out of the race, but come to think of it, she's getting a little wistful in her power here. If this guy Daggett doesn't get any votes, Gene, it looks like Sarah Palin is powerful. By the way, I'll make another prediction. Watch out. She's going to be bigger this time next year than she is now. I think she's growing.
I think she is. Obviously, she is, and she is playing a huge role in this off-year election, and we'll see if she can keep up this momentum for next year and beyond.
Gene,
she's doing it now.
Who wins the New Jersey governor's race tomorrow night when we report on MSNBC? Who will win?
You know, I actually think that Corzine's going to squeak it out, but it's going to be very close.
Howard, who do you think?
I don't know the answer. It depends on whether Corzine and the Democrats, it's a very Democratic state, whether they can get out enough money and machinery to get out the core vote on tomorrow. It's not clear. Obama matters there, and Obama's support matters. If he can get out the votes in Newark, I think he's got a chance to pull it out. Corzine.
Well, here's the President Obama pitching for Corzine. Let's listen.
He was one of the best colleagues I had in the Senate, but he's also one of the best partners I have in the White House. We work together. We work together.
Do you buy that, Gene, that you can sell Obama-ism by just having a guy show up over the weekend? Does he spread the charm? I don't think so. What do you think?
I don't think it necessarily rubs off. I think, but you may get people who otherwise wouldn't have been more energized to go to the polls.
But
if you can get the Democrats to go to the polls, which many of them won't, but if you can get them to go to the polls, then Corzine can win.
Corzine's also facing the fact that he used to work on Wall Street, which is not a good thing in New Jersey or anywhere today.
You're with me, Howard. I think he's got real problems of incumbency and Wall Street and that labor person he gave the money to, he was hanging around with. I mean, I think there's problems there. Let me also, I don't think making fun of somebody for being fat is smart politics. There are a lot of people fighting waistline wars these days. They don't want to hear somebody taking pot shots at them. By the way, Virginia always votes well said. Here. But Virginia always votes the opposite of after we vote for a presidential election. But here's the question, Howard. Between 10 and 15 points, what's more likely to be the result for McDonnell? 15-point spread or 10?
I think he's winning going away. I think it could be closer to 15 than 10. That would be my guess right now. Creed Deeds is just sunk like a stone in Virginia.
These metaphors are unbelievable. Howard Fineman, sunk like a stone. I just love these. And you're like Rex Reed. I mean, these are going to be quotes for the generation.
Not so much praise, you know.
Another one of those. Gene, are you willing to predict one Republican will win tonight? How about this one? Gene? Are you going to predict one Republican's going to win tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Break your heart, but say
absolutely, McDonnell wins, I think, and you know, the Deeds campaign had ran the gamut from A to B, so in terms of its skills. So
okay, look, I think we're agreeing.
Cliches.
Virginia is in; it's going Republican again, and backing off from where it was last year. A state that once again is going red. It looks like tomorrow night. New Jersey still very close. It looks to me like either guy can win. My hunch Corpus Christi, I think people don't like fat jokes. Just a thought. And also they like change in New Jersey. They don't like taxes. Anyway, Howard Fineman, Gene Robinson, a lot of fun. Tomorrow night we'll be back with the results on MSNBC all night. We're going to have a hardball show, by the way, running through 1 in the morning.